What are the key factors, quickly, that you think influence the race?
Well, I group the candidates into three. The first batch is Cyril Ramaphosa, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, and Zweli Mkhize. Then I put Zweli Mkhize in a second batch on his own. This is the batch of the compromise candidate. And then there is the batch of the rest. So clearly, the front runners are Dlamini-Zuma and Cyril Ramaphosa. Some in the ANC hope that Zweli Mkhize will emerge as the compromise candidate. And the question is, what role will the rest of the candidates play in shaping the direction of the contest and the outcome, of course, of the contest? Now, ordinarily, one would argue that issues such as the policy standpoint of each candidate will determine whether that candidate is going to be the winning candidate or not. But in reality, a policy is not going to matter. What will matter is whether the winning candidate has the support of the dominant faction in the ANC or not, or if for some reason the dominant faction starts to lose support, whether there is enough time for the candidate who does not have support from the dominant faction to catch up with the candidate or to the candidate who has the support of the dominant faction. To give an example, Dlamini-Zuma and Ramaphosa have a common enemy, and that common enemy is time. The momentum has been shifting away from Dlamini-Zuma towards Cyril Ramaphosa. The question is whether there is enough time for the momentum to shift decisively towards Ramaphosa. But if you are looking at it from the perspective of Dlamini-Zuma, your prayer is that there shouldn't be enough time over the next 6 weeks for Ramaphosa to catch up. But if you look at some of the tactical mistakes Ramaphosa is making, I think we can still argue that Dlamini-Zuma is ahead, and partly ahead because of the tactical mistakes Ramaphosa has been making, including the tactical mistake of announcing a slate publicly. Another factor that is going to be important is the provincial balance of support. Yes, branches are going to be important because nominations are coming directly from branches. But branch delegates will be influenced by regional and provincial dynamics to some extent. Now, the task for Ramaphosa is to create a new majority in the ANC, a new majority that will support him and therefore deliver the presidency of the ANC to him. The challenge for Dlamini-Zuma is to maintain the support she already enjoys from the dominant faction, the Zuma faction, in the ANC. What does this mean for Ramaphosa? It means, first of all, he must win Mpumalanga. But Mpumalanga is going for or towards Dlamini-Zuma. He must win the Free State. He must win the Northwest. But these two provinces are still Zuma provinces, despite the shifts in momentum towards Ramaphosa I am talking about. He must win KwaZulu-Natal, but KwaZulu-Natal is splitting in the main between Ramaphosa and Dlamini-Zuma. But as matters stand, Ramaphosa has not made enough of inroads to completely disadvantage Dlamini-Zuma in KwaZulu-Natal. So if you look at just those provinces and the fact that the most solid and united amongst them is Mpumalanga, which has come out in support of Dlamini-Zuma. If we just look at those four provinces, Dlamini-Zuma, in my view, is still ahead. If you come to Gauteng, on the other hand, There's always been some misreading of the balance of support in Gauteng. People look at what the provincial leadership says and think the leadership speaks on behalf of branches or regions in the province. What we saw in Polokwane, and to some extent we're going to see this again as we saw it in 2012, is that the provincial leadership takes a position in support of this or that candidate, in this case, Ramaphosa. But they do not fully reflect sentiment on the ground at branch level. So Paul Mashiqana, actually, is at the head of a province that is split when it comes to support between Dlamini Zuma and Ramaphosa. The question is whether it is split to the advantage of Dlamini Zuma or to the advantage of Ramaphosa. But overall, if you look at the 9 provinces, the winning candidate will need Mpumalanga and significant minorities in other provinces. Alternatively, we'll need Mpumalanga and a combination of significant minorities and some majorities in the rest of the provinces. But my analysis of the balance of support at the moment is that it still favors Dlamini Zuma, but who knows? A lot can happen in 6 weeks.
Zweli Mkhize said something very interesting the other day, that if he wins after the conference, he can revive the ANC in 50 days. Would that be politically correct, or is that even possible?
Well, that's just 50 shades of propaganda. It's not possible. The crisis in the ANC is so deep that anyone who claims they can deal with that crisis in 50 days should not be taken seriously and therefore should not be elected ANC president. That very statement is precisely what should disqualify him as a candidate for the presidency of the ANC. But there's something else about Zweli Mkhize. There are those who argue that he will emerge as a compromise candidate. That too is just either propaganda or wishful thinking. Because a compromise candidate emerges under certain conditions, very specific conditions. There must be a stalemate between the dominant factions. And the dominant factions must accept that there is a stalemate and must accept that their candidate cannot win. And when the dominant factions accept that their candidate cannot win, then they will look for a candidate who can make them win the leadership contest. They may go for the same candidate or different compromise candidates. But that situation is not what we have in the ANC at the moment, and therefore the contest at the moment does not have room for a compromise candidate. So positioning Zweli Mkhize as a compromise candidate, in my view, is political folly.